Oh,
there we go.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to D.Gray-Talk. Today,
Hey, wait, I gotta share the link. Not everyone's here.
well, people listening on YouTube will still be able to hear this part.
Well, I haven't put up the video for it either, so.
Jeez, Chi, you're really slacking.
Patience! The link doesn't show up until it's online.
You're being slow.
That was good. I like that introduction.
It's echoing.
Oh, that's why it's playing. Okay, sorry for the echo. Like, I went on the video to get it. Okay, there we go.
Don't yawn, it's contagious. Especially on a Friday.
I will. And
we have one viewer.
Yep, I just put it on.
Coolio.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if everyone in the chat is on. What was that?
No idea.
No idea.
Okay.
No viewers now. What is this?
I just sent it to the chat room.
Bad cheers.
You broke it.
I did not!
Sure.
I just missed everyone from missing your introduction is all. There. Okay, are we all set?
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, we got 3 watching, so might as well start.
Okay. Now, hello everyone, and welcome back to D.Gray-Talk. Today we will be discussing uniforms and the kind of heavy and easily salty topic of slut-shaming. Before we get started, just a heads up, this is a very triggering topic for some people, so we're gonna handle it as delicately as we can. Even so, this is definitely something that we feel needs to be brought up. So, yeah.
Yeah, and also this was a suggested topic. D.Gray suggested it, and we're still open to suggestions for our next topics. So just get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just throw them on the YouTube comments or on Cheese Journal comments. So
or their statuses, you know, everywhere.
Yeah. Flood us with
where we can see it.
So do we want to do, like, quick intros for who all is here, or just, like, get into it?
Just get into it.
We had an intro video.
True. All right, well, we have the same folks here as we had for the first video, so I guess that's intro enough. If we have guests in the future, I guess we can do little blurb things for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so uniforms, yay!
Yeah. I guess they're all quite unique and apparently somewhat customizable to a degree, from what we can see with the canon characters.
Yeah, the Exorcist uniforms in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are a few other uniforms, but we're mostly going to focus on the Exorcist uniforms for this chat.
Yeah.
Since they're the most easily customizable and most common in the fandom for the most part. Well, no,
Right.
not for most part, just plain most common.
So I guess, like, we could talk about what's required on all of the uniforms, some facts on them.
Yeah, sounds about right. And then we can, like, maybe scoot into what can be changed between them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, let's see. I'll pull up Johnny's commentary, because that's the most fun to read about.
That was fun. I only saw that the other day and I was cracking up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pull... I need to put it up. But basically, in one of Hoshino's chat corners, I guess it's Kamui's chat corners, Johnny gives us a commentary about the uniforms. And he goes into detail, like, how expensive they are to make and how they can protect exorcists and how they're customized between exorcists. So, I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, so they're much more than just a piece of clothing. It is, in essence, another piece of equipment, I guess. But
Yeah,
a
right. It's meant to
defensive
assist the
one.
And probably one of the most important ones, since it's literally designed to help the exorcist stay alive.
Yeah, well, I've got Johnny's quote now on my iPad, but he says, yes, they're combat uniforms after all. The uniform department takes up a big budget, which again talks about the expenses. The uniforms have a high level of functionality and durability, of course, because you're fighting giant monsters.
Yeah.
But he does comment that they're custom made to fit each person's body and fighting style, which we've been saying for years, so that's nice to get confirmed.
Yeah. Well, I think it's quite obvious in the fact that they're different. If that wasn't the case, I think they'd be a lot more similar design-wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, they've got similarities since they're uniforms, but as Johnny says, they're customized to work with the fighting style. You don't want something that's going to get in the way of your weapon while you're fighting.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Because that's as dangerous as the Akuma,
Yeah.
Well, and plus you're going to want something that the exorcist is actually going to be willing to wear. If they're going to be like, there is no way in hell I'm going to wear a skirt, and then they die because they weren't wearing their special skirt that's going to protect from Akuma gases.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Alyssa, Croy's uniform, Johnny has a little bit of commentary that his is the most expensive because Croy's uniform, actually, the fibers in it absorb the Akuma blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they absorb the Akuma blood, which makes it the most expensive.
Poor Alan, hearing how much his uniform must have cost must have reminded him of the days with Cross. Like, I'm costing you guys so much money, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And, like, for another instance, Lavi's uniform withstands heat really well. Lena Lee protects her against winds, so it's got some heat insulation in hers. This is all from Johnny's quotes, by the way, and I can provide a link on the timestamp.
And I think it's also in volume 24?
Yeah, probably.
Is it?
It's in one of them, definitely, because I've read it in volume.
Oh, all of my manga are back in my dorm.
I can check.
Interesting. That Johnny covered was that there's also slightly, like the exorcist can put an input into how their uniform is designed. So like Lavi enjoys his scarf as well as the headband, so they actually worked that into his outfit. It wasn't purely like utility.
Yeah, and there's a scene in the manga and the anime where like Johnny's all excited and he's talking to Lavi like trying to take measurements and what would he prefer.
Right.
I think one thing to keep in mind with like customizations though is the Rose Cross is very necessary.
Yeah, it's established from the start that that's basically their free pass. That's why Kanda took so long to get back. I say spoilers to get back to the Black Order after 3 months after the Alma arc, because he wasn't wearing a Rose Cross at the time. He couldn't have access to those free things that Rose Cross would grant him. And so I guess that's a real example of the use of it. It's not just for getting first class, train room or whatever.
It's getting a train at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's like in the beginning of the manga, Alan's first mission, they jump on a train, and the only reason they're not in trouble is because they flashed the Rose Cross.
Right. It's like their detective badges.
They're almost like worshipped by some people, like the people in Crory's town, the black monks.
Yeah. Well, that was before they ran them out, but
True, but yeah, that's a whole other thing.
So like, lots of customizable options. Just remember it's a uniform, and without the Rose Cross, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Well, and plus, too, the fact that it does absorb the Akuma gas, the more of that can be soaked up, the better, since we see in the very first episode it, like, almost kills Moa, so...
Yeah. Johnny says, and I quote, "And because destroyed Akuma produce a virus gas, the uniforms are made with special fibers that are painted with a secret protective seal of the Chan family to block out the gas as much as possible." So that's kind of like what makes them more expensive too, and why for equipment types especially, like you want to have something to protect you.
Oh my god, just went. You've got to find that balance between, customization by your character and protection. You don't want to sacrifice that protection for customization. So, I mean, at its core, D.Gray-Talk's a fantasy, so I guess you can do whatever you want, but you've got to...
It depends on how realistic you want to be to the situation.
And so if you do want to, you know, go all out and you know, have seen some really interesting and amazing uniform designs that are really quite out there and, you know, the height of customization, but they're not realistic to the canon universe. So it really depends what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
And keeping in that too, like, we don't have to be so strictly like by the book. Like, when women back then didn't wear pants, they wore these floofy, horrible skirts with hoop skirts that are the worst thing ever to wear. And Hoshino herself literally says, "Oh, Lena Lee's skirt is getting shorter. No big deal." So like, we do need to keep that in mind. At the same time, we do also need to remember that, yeah, these guys are going to have things flying at them and debris everywhere, and they're going to be tripping on stuff and going in cold weather and all this fun stuff that goes into character creation that you have to keep in mind.
I'm not an expert on Victorian fashion, but I'm pretty sure hoop skirts for sure, and corset, bustles, and any kind of cagey dress stuff would probably be middle class to upper class kind of wear. The lower class isn't going to wear that at all. There's very distinct Victorian class definitions, and so I would recommend, if you do want to be accurate to the period, is to look up the fashions of the time, and there's tons and tons of resources on the internet, and you can just find out fashions of the period, because it was you know, aside from the Industrial Revolution, the Victorian period was a period of great change, and there was so much going on in the fashion world, and so there wasn't just big poofy dresses. There was a lot more kind of complexity to the big poofy dresses, if that makes sense.
I think another thing to do too is like go through canon references, see what people are wearing. That can make your character fit in really well if you put your character next to canon and you don't see them sticking out like a ridiculous sore thumb.
Yeah. So I will note that from my personal view, again, not a fashion expert, but especially in the later chapters, Hoshino has been more accurate to period clothing, especially with characters like Katerina, who appear to be wearing, you know, quite upper class kind of fashions.
Well, Lady Alma too, right? She's wearing a dress as her uniform.
Yeah, and I went back about kind of 20 or 30 years, I can't remember exactly how much it is, and actually looked up the fashions of the time, and at that time the bustle was in fashion. You can kind of see it in the back of Lady Alma's dress. With the big ruffles and stuff, and so I thought it was quite interesting that Hoshino kind of referenced that a little bit, and so I'm wondering if, you know, she did know that or if she just guessed.
Well, we've also seen, like, outside the Black Order, there's more traditional historical elements. So
yeah.
Let me just throw out there that bustles and hoop skirts are quite possibly the worst things that men have ever made women wear. I had to wear them for Little Women back in high school, and oh my god, they are horrible. I can't imagine trying to fight in those. Lady Alma's a badass in my book for being able to do it.
Well, not to mention, there were a lot of documented women who like actually burned walking by candles. Their skirts would catch on fire, and they wouldn't be able to get out of the dresses in time.
Oh, damn.
Oh, boy.
That's awkward.
Because the upper classes especially, there'd be so many layers, because you'd have like the jacket, and then underneath that you'd have the kind of outfit, and you'd have skirts, petticoats, hoop skirt, you'd have the corset cover, the corset, and then you'd get to the camise, which was the underwear. And, you know, it had so many levels that I'm not surprised a lot of people burned to death not getting out of their dresses in time.
And I'm not surprised Hoshino's drawing pants on women at that point.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, that would be a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
Or like with all the stuff like that falls around them, like if their dress gets caught like trapped under debris or something, then that's
Exactly.
bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. And and I think also if you do kind of want to stick to that, not necessarily dresses, but to be with pants, go more realistic. I think there is a lot of options for customization, because I feel like some people have just kind of thrown pants on because that's the basic kind of thing, but it could be so much more interesting if you kind of like looking at fashions from the time, or times around that, and drawing on that, so you can create a neat, unique outfit that is realistic and does reflect fashions of the time.
Lulu mentions Lena Lee fighting in a dress. That would be rad. Well, Lena Lee sort of did fight in a dress during the Rewinding Town arc.
Yeah. For the entire first uniform, she had that cloak on, so she basically had like an overdress thing on. So
yeah,
that had a slit side, didn't it?
Yeah, so I guess it's like weighing how much fashion you want to have versus how much movability you want to have.
Yeah, like, because sometimes just, throwing on whatever's there and easy to get on is good, especially, like, if they're expecting to be attacked in the middle of the night or something. But, yeah, at the same time, some people actually do want to look good when they go out in public. So, it's the balance.
Yeah,
Right.
and Alyssa's just commented, too, about jeans. I don't think jeans were a thing back then.
Oh, gosh, I actually did research into this. I think they were made, like, in the 20s or 30s-ish. So not that far off, but yeah, they don't think they were around during the Victorian age. At the same time, they have like things that they shouldn't have had back then in D.Gray-Man. So.
Yeah.
So you could argue.
Yeah.
It
just kind of depends, because D.Gray-Man is set in a fictional end of the 19th century, and there are a lot of traditional elements outside the Black Order, but there are a lot of modern inside the Black Order, so it's trying to balance those out and when they're out in public and what they should be wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, denim not being around.
Yeah. Though Dr. Pepper was around back then. It was made in like the 1880s.
Wow.
Well, is there anything else on the uniform subject?
For casual outfits, I know for Liesel, I actually decided to make her have like a dress that would fit closer to the style of the Victorian era, but I made it so that she could pull it away if she did need to engage in combat really quickly, or if something were to grab onto her skirt, it would just tear away.
Gosh, I love everything about Liesel, too.
I think that's a really interesting idea, and I'd say definitely play with the layers, because, like I mentioned earlier, Victorian clothing for women, at least with the middle and upper classes, had a lot of layers. So yeah, I do think that's a really interesting.
Another thought too, I think, is how often are they wearing these casuals, and where are they wearing them? Because we see a few casuals worn by the Exorcists in the Black Order. Like Alan's got his classic vest and pants, and Lena Lee has like her sort of Chinese-styled shirts. So one thing you can think about is if they're inside the Black Order, and maybe sometimes outside, they could have a type of fashion that reflects their nationality.
Oh gosh, yeah, because like even though Exorcists are going to be based in England, they still are, from somewhere else, and they're not going to just drop their culture and everything they grew up with because they're living somewhere else now.
Yeah. Yeah, Amelia, for those who remember her, she's from the Timothy arc. She knew Timothy when he was recruited, and she joined up, and she kind of tutors him, if I'm not mistaken. Amelia still wears her dress at the Order.
Yeah, she had a lot of high-waisted stuff. I think what's also interesting to note, a fact that I've just also remembered, was that towards the end of the 19th century, women's clothing was getting a lot more masculine. So they were losing a lot of layers, they were becoming a lot more form-fitting, and were kind of using elements of masculine clothing. And I think that's definitely reflected in what Amelia's wearing. You know, she wears the tie. It's all quite, you know, school teachery.
Well, and there's Officer Moa from the very beginning. Yeah. She was wearing overalls.
Well, and then too, Bridget, Kamui's, I kind of consider her his assistant or babysitter. She's wearing like a pencil skirt, which they didn't wear a lot of until the 1900s, like well into the 1900s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's definitely, you know, bits of fashion in the D.Gray-Man canon that isn't even from the right century.
Yeah. Well, look at their exorcist casual or training, you know, skin
things that they didn't even have until like almost the 2000s.
Yeah.
But they look good, so Hoshino just went with it.
Mm-hmm.
I also really like the fact that there's almost some steampunkish type things. So it's like, what's his face? John having the goggles, like, in the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
And so stuff that's not even technically part of this world, even.
Yeah.
Oh, for John?
Yeah. John, something. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And there have been countless elements that are more modern. I mean, I don't think there were women in bunny suits at that point.
Yeah.
There definitely would have been ladies of the night, but I don't think they would have been wearing fishnets and corsets.
Yeah, like what we've seen in D.Gray-Man.
Yeah. What seems to be a colossal misconception by a lot of people is that corsets go over clothing. Corsets are part of underwear.
Yeah.
They're the bra.
Yeah. They were, as far as I'm aware, they were the precursor to a bra for keeping those boobs up and not saggy.
Yeah,
well, and some people do still use them, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Lena Lee, when her clothes were burned off, she had a corset on.
Yeah.
Women still use them today. They're actually very comfortable and really nice for people who have wacky shoulders.
Yeah.
Oh, it keeps freezing?
Oh.
What? Why?
Because it doesn't like us.
Apparently not.
That's weird.
I hope that the streaming after this gets put on there permanently is smooth. I mean, holy cats.
Yeah.
I'm starting to hear a slight echo from Chica, too.
I'm hearing echo from everybody.
Are you?
Yeah.
Mine's been pretty metallic from the beginning.
Mine's been fine.
Mine has been fine, too.
Mojo, what are you doing?
I'm not doing
magic.
Anything.
Okay, how is it now?
Still a little bit echoey. I don't know. It's gone now, though.
I'm wondering for the viewers, because they're the ones watching.
Oh.
I mean, you count, too.
Oh, I feel loved.
It's sounding a bit better to me, but I don't know if that's just my computer catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. My stuff's always stupid, so I never know. But yes, corsets are one thing that I actually do know a fair bit about because, yay, corsets. Not waist training. No, I don't know a whole lot about waist training.
I mean, I guess we're still sort of sounding because the chat's still going. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask on the uniforms or casuals or our opinions. We can all discuss that.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think of other things that we could put into the customization discussion.
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on which version of the uniform, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, the first uniform was very robish.
Yeah.
Had a lot of flying coattails, because Hoshino likes drawing coattails as bat wings.
It's a neat aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and two, I think the first one, well, I don't know. First and third are definitely the most similar to each other between Exorcists. First one definitely feels a lot closer, though, like much more uniform, for lack of a better word.
Well, it's more priest-like.
Yeah.
Because they were called the Black Priests.
Mm.
Didn't she say that they're supposed to like mimic clerics or something?
Yeah, they initially.
Cloaks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, like, what we heard a lot in the beginning translations was them calling them Black Priests instead of exorcists necessarily.
Yeah.
I think another point, kind of a fun fact, is Lena Lee didn't have buttons, which has kind of been assumed that maybe the women for the first uniform don't have buttons.
Yeah, it's interesting to note kind of all the different details between the male and female uniforms. Like, I think it's the second, Miranda and Lena Lee they have like a different zipper?
Yeah. The second was the most customizable.
Yeah.
I mean, there were zippers everywhere, man.
I think Hoshino said the reason she kind of ditched it was because the zippers were getting too hard to draw.
Yeah.
They get
I
tedious.
don't blame her.
Detailed. Those were insanely detailed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see. We've got a few questions now.
Yeah.
One topic is very similar or copy of uniforms from other fan characters. That's from Gazer.
Oh gosh.
Are we saying like uniforms that are similar to canon or similar to other fan characters? Because it's going to be a ripping off discussion.
Yeah. Something that we can easily and very quickly get into and get very flamey about.
I think in regards to canon, especially with the first uniform, I mean, even with the third uniform, like there are a few exorcists whose uniforms are very similar to each other.
I think there's a quote-unquote default, because, Alan's and Candace's first uniforms were very similar, and so it's almost like they just gave Alan the default.
Yeah, actually, Alan too, like, they actually had to change it a little later. They gave Alan a hood to separate him from Conda, because they were so similar.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote from someone, it was some interview, and it was just, like, character details. I don't know if it was from a book or something. And it was just talking about the details and the customization each exorcist requested for their uniform, and Conda noted that he wanted none.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the impression that his is the default or the closest to default.
Yeah.
Because it is the most kind of robe-like and priesty for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the second one's not very priesty at all, but kind of always has the long kind of robes and full sleeves and stuff like that. And so whilst there's no kind of canon default established, really.
I mean, it's fine if you've got, like, I think it's fine if you've got a uniform that's very similar to canon. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
It looks like she responded and said, like, similar to FCs, so...
Oh boy, okay.
The whole topic that we've been ranting about forever. Don't rip off your fellow fans.
What I suggest is just going into a group on DA or something and going into the OC folder, just flicking through and just see what's around. That's what I did when I was making my OCs. You just get a feel of what has already been done, and it can kind of direct you into a place where you can find something new to do. So, like, I never had seen epaulettes on a character. I don't know if that's how you say the word. So
the kind that your character has are completely different.
Yeah, so I took those, and now that's quite an iconic part of her uniform, and I think that's the thing, like, by restricting yourself from doing similar things to other people, you can actually find something really new and interesting that hasn't been done, and ends up being really iconic of your character and makes it really recognizable.
Mm-hmm. And the thing too is that, like we might have said it before, this fandom is so small that we're probably going to see a lot, if not all of the new characters posted, so we will be able to recognize if your uniform is too similar to another one's. And nobody wants that drama.
I think one thing to make sure to clarify too is there are some things that aren't going to be ripped off. Like if your character has shorts, sorry, there are going to be other characters who have shorts.
Yeah, for sure. Or like sleeveless uniforms and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that have just kind of become common, and like, you know, anyone would think up a sleeveless or wearing shorts. You know, it's just a matter of when all of those details start getting combined with more creative ones or unique ones that haven't been seen before. If you start copying the entire thing, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah. And then you're going to have all of us ranting about it and being salty for no reason at all. Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of a balance, you know. If you're ever worried about it, you can always contact someone.
Yeah, and just say, you know, I was thinking of doing this, you know, what do you know about the fan character uniforms that are quite popular or whatever? Do you know what's not been done? But then, like I mentioned earlier, you know, look at fashions of the time, and you never know, you might find something interesting that you want to kind of convert into a uniform.
Yeah, and Gaze-Ray's added, it's a bit fishy when you see the exact one, and it's even more fishy when they watch you.
Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, that's always an awkward situation, and it's kind of unavoidable too. Like, it's probably going to happen. So it's just a matter of figuring out how to deal with it, if it is a serious issue or if it's something that can be overlooked.
Yeah. I think really the frustrating thing is just, you know, it's not that hard to look through the fandom and see what has been done and see what hasn't been done. Like, obviously, like Chase said, there are things that a lot of people are going to come up with, but it's about finding your own twist to it that can make the difference between a really good character that everyone will love and someone that we're all like, yeah, we've seen that before.
Yeah. Okay, there was a little conversation on zippers, and to clarify, since there's some confusion, like Koto said, zippers weren't invented during D.Gray-Man's time. Like, it wasn't a thing. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
So that's another modern element, and yes, Nagi, the zippers were all over the second uniform, so you're fine if you want to use them. They're all over Alan's boots, too, so...
Yeah.
Yes. Zippers everywhere. They're even on the third uniform, too, so...
Yeah. Okay.
May had asked, besides the rose cross, are there other things on a uniform you should avoid modifying?
I think, like, kind of that whole little section around the rose cross, too.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a little strip with crosses on there, and you've got a little zipper underneath the rose cross. Then next to all that, you've got an E-clasp. And that's very uniformal, and it's on all the uniforms, and it'd be kind of weird lacking those.
Yeah. Like, the belts, though, I feel like are very customizable, because I've seen some people do completely different things from what we've seen in canon, and they look really good. Like, even Gaze-Ray doesn't have a belt at all, and it looks fabulous, so...
Well, yeah, and Kanda had some personal belts as well, if I remember correctly.
On the first uniform, he had, like, a white one that was underneath the uniform one, for some reason.
Well, and then the second one, Lavi had, like, 3 belts, so...
Yeah.
And the third one, Lavi's belt, I think is actually underneath his coat, but you can see the bottom part sticking out underneath.
Yeah, the little
it doesn't
loop.
have to be visible.
Yeah.
There were a few other questions before.
Then there's one from Lou. Yeah, I have no idea how to say it, so I just go with Lou.
Oh, well, Sakura May, just real quick about the uniform backs. It depends on the uniform. I think, me personally, I like to see them copy the canon, but
Yeah.
I mean...
Like, YOLO.
Yeah, like, you know, they're just kind of the little details that make it look like the uniform. So when you lack those, it looks less like the uniform. Your character looks less like it belongs with the Exorcist.
Chi, did you want to share any of the pictures that you actually gathered for the uniforms?
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
You spent all that time putting
because you've got a really good one for Kanda.
Yeah, I've got a good reference for Kanda in the back, and it also has the fanny pack but whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna screen share if everyone wants to go to like the YouTube video to view it.
Yeah. And as long as you're talking, it should focus on your screen.
Okay, yeah, here it is. He's got the 2 lines that go from his shoulder blades and down, and it connects to the belt. And I actually thought the lines went down the coattail, but apparently it doesn't. The fanny pack is there too, and I'll share this link as well with other folks because I've got a whole stash folder full of references for the different uniforms. But this is the third too, and like the other uniforms, the second uniform has a cross on the back, a white one. And the first uniform has like this big back panel, like a white back panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like white across the upper back and then black from like the bottom of the shoulders down, if I remember right.
Yeah, and I'll pull that up in a little later, so like I don't share my entire stash with everyone.
Oh, but I'm sure there are fabulous things in there.
Yeah, and I can actually, I'll go ahead and share the third uniform references with everyone in the chat, so y'all can look through those if y'all want.
And then I can go in after this and edit in those links as annotations. So.
Okay, what was Lou's question we were about to get on?
I have it on my screen. What about personal preferences and quirks? If the character enjoys their uniform in a way that isn't entirely practical... Ah, crap, I just lost it.
But is just too stubborn to change it and takes the risk.
Damn it, I was halfway through it and then my screen decided to derp. I am so mad.
I think that, again, with uniforms, personal quirks are normal. Like, Alan always likes his knee-high boots. Lavi likes his scarf, and all of Lavi's jackets, actually, are, like, straight down. They're not skin-tight, really, to his torso. And Kanda likes his, flowing robes so he can fly into the moon. But yeah, like, I think it's fine if they have, like, a personal thing, but when it comes to practicality, it's like, okay, would they rather be in a really flashy skirt and result in being killed by an Akuma, or,
Well, and too, like, taking the second to rearrange their skirt or fix their shirt or do the pants or whatever, what could cost them their life, so.
Yeah, because, I mean, there are a lot of clothes that are practical, and you can make practical, like Lena Lee makes her skirt practical. Like, she needs that with her fighting style. She's fighting with her legs. If your character has a whole bunch of pretty ribbons all over them, that's cool. That's aesthetic. That looks really pretty, but you're probably going to get dragged around.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that would suck. How are the little loop things not liabilities?
I have a headcanon they strangle people with those.
Wow. Because, I mean, I know on my cosplay, the other day I was testing it out, and that thing hangs so low, it's like, how does that not get hooked on doors? I mean, my belt loops get caught on doors.
Someone should draw that.
I probably will one of these days.
Do y'all got a comment on the personal preferences, since I kind of took that over?
I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, like, I'd just repeat, you've got to find that balance of what you want your character to be, and whether you want to be, practical and realistic, or follow your own character's aesthetic and be all fashionable and stuff.
Well, and I think too, everyone has different abilities, so to speak. Like, I can't walk 2 feet in heels, and yeah, I know people who can go like days in heels. So I think it's what your character is willing to put up with and what they're most comfortable in. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable fighting in a skirt because I've grown up in pants, but I'm sure it would be the opposite for someone who's been raised in dresses. So it's all about like figuring out their personality and whatnot. But I've been blabbering long enough. What does Begin think about this?
Oh, sorry. Mine was mostly cutting out so much that I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but even the canon we see don't always necessarily go with what's most useful for the fight. So, like, Lavi's scarf would probably be a huge liability.
Yeah.
But, like, that is one of those times where obviously Hoshino thought that it was better to not be entirely practical, so it's kind of up to you guys.
Yeah. Okay, Trash just mentioned, like, a skirt impractical for fighting with legs. Trashed, I was in ballet, And I can assure you, the skirt is very useful.
Especially a short one.
Yeah.
Ballet and hip hop both benefit really well from having skirts and shorts, and karate also works really well with that.
Well,
Perhaps, like
kickboxers
longer floor-length skirts would be an issue. But then,
yeah.
And as far as we know, Lady Alma does fight in that, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Shrug.
We don't know much about her, and it breaks my heart.
Oh, I'm hoping for filler.
Yes.
Fulfill me.
Oh, imagine if there's a filler that's actually all about Conda's past.
Right? I know it's a lost topic, but I'd like to see Lady Alma fight because she's wearing this gigantic frickin' dress, and I want to see how it works with the fluffy stuff. I mean, I know they're blades, but fluffy stuff.
The fluffy stuff that look like Apocryphos' stuff.
No.
Oh, whenever someone mentions fluffy stuff in Apocryphos, I just think of poor Link.
Oh.
And then my heart hurts a little.
Did we have any other questions?
Seems like there might have been one more. I don't know.
This wasn't really a question, but Gaze-Rei at one point actually pointed out that perhaps one of the reasons that we do have the characters having slightly more outlandish clothing is actually to set them apart from background characters.
Oh.
And, I think that makes perfect sense. It's not necessarily something that Hoshino might have consciously put out there, but it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Well, and then they do mention early on that the uniforms are specifically designed to draw the Akuma to the exorcists. So even if she didn't intend it that way, she works it into the story so that they are designed to draw the attention of their enemies.
Right.
Well, that's the purpose of the uniforms being so flashy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, speaking of fluff, the third uniform, just a little fun fact, all the women, including Claude, Nine, Lina Lee, and Miranda Loto, whatever, they have ruffles on their uniforms, so just kind of a shout out to that.
I wish we had more lady exorcists.
Right?
I definitely think that is something your character could customize and say, no, I don't want any of that ruffly stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dolphin would strangle me if I tried to put them on her. Like, no!
I'm gonna use that belt.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I'm never gonna get over that.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely just something else, especially since we only recently realized this. And even then, I don't think any of us did until Chi updated Kira's appearance and was like, yeah, by the way, all the canon women have this.
Yeah, I'd seen a few OCs that had the ruffles, but I don't know if anyone had noticed that. So
I had not.
I know I didn't either.
I know Razy mentioned earlier, the whole parasitic versus equip uniforms. That could be the next topic.
Yeah. That parasitic can afford to have more skin showing because they're immune to the gases and the poison.
At least the virus, yeah.
Yeah.
The virus itself, that'll kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, even so, though, it's really interesting to see, though, that Crory and Alan are the only two parasites that we have up until Timothy, and they both, aside from Conda, definitely have the most conservative uniforms. They
Does
don't.
Simon Dark not count because he's dead?
I forgot about him. Wow.
That's so indignant.
He doesn't count because he literally showed up just to die.
And we only see his innocence briefly, and that's only in the anime, so...
Sadness.
Yeah, but yeah, so Lily is obviously the first equip that comes to mind that doesn't have her whole body completely covered by the uniform, and if going on the previous point, she probably should have, but for her innocence reasons she can't. But yeah, so just looking at that, the fact that the parasites do have very what's the phrase? They have covering uniforms.
Yeah. I think it's a balance. Like you could say being parasitic is an excuse, and it sort of is, but at the same time, depending on how much skin you want to show, because they still gotta walk around in that.
Yeah, and they still gotta go to like cold places and that would be horrible. To be somewhere like Antarctica and not have sleeves.
And I mean, I guess as far as equipment types go, definitely having stuff around their mouth and like anywhere that they're actually going to be breathing in air, I think it makes sense to have more material around them. Mm-hmm. But I feel like almost arms and legs, if they get shot there, a piece of clothing isn't going to keep that bullet from going through, so I guess they figure if they're hit, they're dead anyway, so... There's
also a commentary that the uniforms get more durable.
Right.
But, like, it could probably keep them from getting a minor scratch. But
oh, yeah.
If it's going to hit them full on, you're sort of screwed.
Yeah. Probably more than anything, it's helpful against, like, debris.
Mm-hmm.
Since things blow up around them a lot.
Yeah. That's another thought, it's great to be parasitic and surviving the virus, but if you come home with scrapes and major arteries busted because you got scratched, you're kind of screwed that way, too.
Well, then, yeah, if you get a wound and then, you destroy an Akuma and it releases a gas, my headcanon is that the gas can get in through the wounds, so...
Oh, gosh.
So you're still dead.
Yeah, we do know about the gases, canonically, that if you breathe in enough of it, you'll get really sick, and you could possibly die.
True.
So.
Yeah.
There's just no, like, time in canon when someone was injured and then died because of the gas entering the wound. Mm-hmm. So that's why I just throw it out there that it's my headcanon. But
well, I mean, it's pretty understandable. If it gets in your lungs, it's going to hurt you. So maybe if you're exposed to it enough on the skin, it could cause a rash or something.
Yeah. Mm. Well, and your skin does absorb stuff, too. That's why Crowry's uniform absorbs blood, so...
Since he uses that as sustenance.
But also, we have to remember that if he does consume too much, the virus does start to affect him because there's too much for the innocents to combat.
True.
And, that's another little commentary on the virus is parasitic-type exorcists, they can still die from it if they don't purify themselves in time. Presumably. Because, like, you wait long enough without purifying yourself, it's going to go all the way through your body, right?
Yeah.
So.
And that's a really not good thing.
Mm.
Just stating the obvious there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Alyssa mentions she finds it interesting how in canon the exorcist clothes sometimes just vanish. There's actually a canon comment on that, and Alan mentions he has no idea where his sleeve goes. No one knows.
I would assume that it's just magic. I would just write it off as magic. Because at the end of the day, the innocence is a magic weapon. So.
And Sissy, you mentioned Lena Lee. Her stockings.
Yeah.
I mean, like, despite the fact that her uniform burns away, especially, like, in the first equipment version of the dark boots, she still kind of comes back and has these stockings.
Mm-hmm.
Sissy, your commentary.
I'm sorry.
Suddenly pushes you in the front.
Oh, God. I don't know. I had actually collected some images that showed Lena Lee's first activation in the manga.
Yeah.
I'm worried about screen sharing because I don't know how to work Max very well.
I'll pull it up because you made the comment on my stash folder. Let's see. There we are. You can go ahead and talk, though, while I bring it up.
Oh, sure. And Alyssa's mentioning this in the chat, too. So, like, similar to Alan's sleeve disappearing, Lena Lee's stockings actually disappear. Along with the maneuverability argument, I think that also gives a strong reason for why she doesn't opt to wear pants. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would actually burn away the clothing above if she were wearing the pants and she had had a bad experience with that.
That would be awkward.
Yeah.
But that'd be also kind of a really interesting thing to have seen, you know, because she would have burned, you know, 3/4 or so of her legs.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I've got the screen sharing up that Begin was mentioning, with the stockings kind of either transforming out or whichever, what have you.
Okay. We see that in the anime. I'm glad to see that it's actually in the manga too.
Yeah, it's kind of neat too because it kind of varies a little bit. Like in some ways it does this torn up appearance, and others it has the hexagons popping out. You know, I'm a slut for hexagons. Sorry, but yeah.
But yeah.
I think with Hoshino, she's not always consistent on details, which I think is an interesting thing to consider, because it gives us, as fans, a little more freedom to kind of work with stuff.
Okay.
And confused over stuff.
Yeah.
Well, she subtly changes all sorts of details from style to everything else. I think it's kind of cool. But
like the thing on the side, sometimes it's a red on the outside and a black strip in the middle on the third uniform. And sometimes it's black on the strips on the outside and a red on the inside. And it just switches. And so I'm like, what am I supposed to believe?
Gee, didn't you do references for all those variations when you and Pappy were running the DGM fan reviews? Or rather, when it was super active?
The variations of the uniforms, yeah, I did a quick little summary of it. But it's kind of just like the really nitty-gritty stuff, like boot details and stuff like that. I do want to mention Koto's commentary, Kotowari. I sort of thought the material of the uniform is absorbed into the material of the Innocence, and that the Innocence sort of uses it too, like equivalent exchange almost. And I think that's a really cool headcanon. That sounds really neat. Ryu mentions a new topic, if y'all want to grab that.
Just a heads up, we do have like less than an hour too before a couple of us have to jet. So if we wanted to move on to our other topic we wanted to mention today. But yeah, what's the other topic?
It's about the loss of limbs of equipment types. For example, Mary loses his...
yeah.
Oh, I was just reading that chapter last night for reference, and it still hurt.
And it does, you know, Ryu's wondering if it does have time before it takes effect, and that is true to an extent. I think in the beginning, I do believe it was mentioned it took about a minute to take an effect, so literally if your character was shot, they'd have to amputate it.
If they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mari cut off his fingers before he
immediately. As soon as he was shot, he cut them off.
No hesitation.
And I feel like had someone been hit in like the shoulder or the torso at all, they're just gone. Because by the time anyone could do anything about it, they're already dead.
Yeah.
Like with the fingers, you know, they're so
expendable.
Yeah, I mean they're so far away from the kind of core organs and like the spinal cord and the brain, which are really, you know, important pieces, that you can just take them off without second thought. But when it's larger limbs, it's a bit more difficult, and you've also got to think about the effects on the body, because I think you can go into shock. I mean, for example, say if your character got shot in the arm or leg and kind of whips around and just chops off your limb. Because I mean that's the speed one would have to go at to try and save you. That's a very shocking experience, and you can die from shock as well and blood loss. I mean,
oh yeah, the whole bleeding out thing too.
Like cutting off such a larger limb, you're going to have much more blood loss. With the fingers, it's okay. There's not a lot coming from there, but especially like the legs, you've got a really big vein or artery in the thigh.
Femoral artery, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about the arms, but it really steps up the game because it's a much more dangerous area to cut off.
Yeah.
So do we want to move to the second topic before we run out of time?
Probably, yeah.
This one's sort of the sensitive one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to start.
So again, this is our more triggering topic for anyone who responds negatively to this kind of discussion. Just a heads up.
Yeah. This has been a prevalent problem, too, with this fandom. Like, it just has been underlying the entire time. And I can hear myself echoing. That's distracting. It's slut-shaming. We already made a lot of commentary on, like, Victorian clothes and stuff. And unfortunately, there are some people out there who forget the modern elements of D.Gray men, and they automatically assume, like, if you're showing a little skin, then your character would be considered a slut. Yeah. And they'll say that to you, which is rude as hell.
If not triggering.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about that too.
I'd like to point out really quick that if you look at Victorian-era dresses, a lot of them do show the chest area, which is something that wasn't stigmatized back then, but nowadays, for some reason, people freak out if women show cleavage, and yet it's really looked well upon for some. But anyway, so that was a fact of Victorian society, and fashion was that women just showed their cleavage. So when people claim that a character is scantily clad for showing the chest region, that's just, for one, insanely accurate to Victorian dress, especially for people who are claiming that they're making the argument based on Victorian fashion. So it's
these are the same people who think pants are all right.
Yeah.
In historical context, when pants aren't being used.
Yeah, women didn't wear pants back then. It's just how things were.
Yeah, and the Victorian prudishness and kind of respectability as we see it is kind of a myth. It's more like that's what they wanted to give off. That was they wanted to appear respectable. But they actually weren't. A lot of middle to upper class men, they're supposed to, that on the outside they believe in the sanctity of marriage. On the inside, they've got a mistress, and they're visiting her all week when they're not at home. And there was a colossal sexual double standard. I do believe one of the suffrage movement's slogans was "Votes for women, chastity for men." Yeah. But basically, there's a division between the middle to upper classes and the lower class. See, these things were all going on in all the classes, but from a middle to upper class perspective, it's expected of the lower classes to be doing these kind of debaucherous acts and dressing in weird clothing and not conforming to this idea of this ideal respectability because they're the lower class. And I think that's kind of forgotten in relation to the kind of clothing, and especially in kind of relation to D.Gray man as well, is this class system. England especially is very classist, and especially was at that time. Sorry, I was a bit ranting there, but
it's educational because you know that stuff.
Yeah, it's that kind of historical context that I find a lot of critics just assume. You can't read like literature of the time and go, yes, that's the truth. The literature is representative of that, and like the movie, the media that we make off of that today is even more representative.
Yeah, and between that, you can see it in D.Gray man too, the ballroom scene.
It's very romanticized.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to go, like, give an example. Like, Charles Dickens romanticized the poor, and stuff like that. And so you can't rely on that media to be a reliable source for Victorian fashion and culture.
Well, with all due respect, I doubt they're doing that thick of research. They're probably just working off of what they think.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at the not so great side of the Victorian era, we do see that even to some extent in D.Gray-Man. If you guys remember the Millennium Swordsman arc, I'm completely forgetting the daughter's name, but she had been betrothed to this dude who was like twice her age, and that's why she ran away with Vittorio. So even then, we do see a lot of those really not pleasant elements within DGM.
Yeah, infanticide was, I wouldn't say common, but it was a thing. I do believe there was a child murderer, and people would sell their illegitimate babies to her, and she would murder them. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure someone told me that.
Yeah, it wasn't all sparkles and cool fashion and shit. I mean, crap.
Yeah.
But like,
well, Hansel and Gretel was like originally the parents were like, "Okay, kids, we can't afford to feed you anymore. Go out into the woods and get yourselves killed. Thanks, bye."
Yeah, but like, back on uniforms too. As Alyssa has also mentioned, and I mentioned before, there's a ballroom scene with the Noah family where they're doing politics with humans.
Yeah.
And there are women with beautiful dresses, and they've got lots of cleavage and shoulders.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it depends. Like, you don't really want to dress like that if you're fighting, depending on your weapon type. But, I mean, if you're wanting to wear a training uniform or a casual at the order, it's pretty normal.
And I don't think, like, other, like, people at the order could criticize the exorcists for what they wear, because the exorcists are also protecting these people at the Black Order. And they you know, the exorcists are, you know, quite high up in the kind of hierarchy of the order. They don't have the authority to go, "Oh no, you're a slut."
Well, I think on that note, I think another issue too with this calling out of characters as sluts is that, guys, that's slut shaming.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to say, "Oh, your character's clothes aren't accurate to the time period." It's another thing to say, "Oh, your character is a slut and some guy is going to drag her off." That's so terrible. I can't believe people actually tell other people that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you wouldn't say that to someone in real life, like to some girl just wearing like a knee-high skirt out in public, please, 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 please do not say that to someone online about themselves or their character or anything like that. It's just no.
Yeah, and like, just real quick, like, the definition of slut shaming, and this is kind of a compiled one from multiple sources, is it's the act of labeling a person, you know, a girl or a woman as a slut and punishing her socially for it, you know, getting other people to call her it or just calling her it and mocking her for it. And in the context of this topic, you know, with female characters, you know, calling a character a slut just because of her clothes or her anatomy, that's slut shaming. As long as you're mocking this character and saying, you know, she's a slut or she's a whore or she's going to get dragged off, that is slut shaming.
Yeah. Well, and then too, like, when you describe it like that, the first thing that comes to mind with, you know, people ganging up on something is bullying. And I know that's something that nobody online wants to be a part of, let alone be called a bully. And, like, I know a lot of us have dealt with it in real life. So why in the frick are people who have dealt with bullying in their real lives, or maybe didn't, bullying people online? There's just no excuse for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we've seen it in the fandom too, this teaming up to shame a character just because of her anatomy or her showier clothes, and it's just, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable, is what it is.
And I think if you do see it going on, and like, or on DeviantArt or Tumblr, is to step in. I remember there was a instance, I think it was midway through 2015. I think it was Toshori's OC that was reblogged by some people and just crushed. And so many fans stepped in and was actually like, no.
Yeah.
GTFO. This is bullying. Stop.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, that's not how you handle things. You see a character you don't like, are you seriously going to start attacking that person for it? That's pretty damn childish. Sorry.
Yeah. And definitely don't do it like on a public forum where other people will see this and think that it's okay to, you know, gang up on them. Like, maybe approach them in private and be like, "Yo, I see this thing with your character. Would it be okay if I give you some advice?" Or if you do publicly comment, then do it in a respectful and constructive manner. Don't do it in such a way that you're going to be like, yeah, guys, come on, let's, have a witch burning session here.
Yeah, let's continue to promote the sexual double standard. Woohoo!
Yeah. Gosh. As a woman who used to work, I used to work in customer service as a female, and people used to think I was 16 and still hit on me. That's just a very sore topic for me, so please just know.
It's triggering, I mean, even if you're talking about a fictional character that way, if that person owns the character and that person relates to the character, it's going to feel the same as if you're telling it to them.
Yeah. Well, and if it is their character, then you know that they do relate to them, so it's just not a good idea no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if it's what they want to draw, then, as long as it's within moral boundary and isn't, like, some weird, dodgy, stuff that's technically illegal and or shouldn't be on DeviantArt, let them draw it.
Yeah, on that topic, drawing underage people in sexual situations, no matter if the uniform is like that or not, you're totally going to get the ban hammer, so...
Yeah.
There was a little commentary, too, on, like, the exorcists wearing jackets or an exorcist cloak over their uniform, and Lena Lee does that a lot, and, wearing a miniskirt in public, she'll have an overdress or an exorcist cloak unless she needs to take it off and fight, and she's fought in them before, but she often takes them off.
Well, and then for the third uniform, we see pretty much everyone gets those winter cloaks, too, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those cloaks you see in the Timothy arc when it's snowing. Especially well. Like, they wear them the entire time, pretty much.
I would, too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Possibly suggests that, the uniforms aren't massively thick.
I mean, they're durable, but they're not, 3 inches.
Yeah.
Lena Lee would probably do the best in cold weather, actually, since since it's designed to fly at high altitude.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's canon, too, that hers keeps in heat. So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought about giving some examples of what people had said for slut-shaming, but they're all very disturbing, and I think everyone would get upset reading them. So I think we're going to avoid that.
Yeah, I think keeping it vague, like, everyone knows basically what not to say to not be a douche, so I think just saying it in vague terms is hopefully enough. And if somebody kind of doesn't get the hint, then, shame on them.
Razy just brought up an interesting topic in the chat.
I keep getting dragged away just as she's making points. It makes me sad.
I'm trying to figure out a way to word this. Yeah, basically she says, plus you don't go out on the street and dress down the person to give them another outfit because it fits them better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Trying to... Guys, don't just take a person's character and redesign them without permission. I mean,
like, if your friends asked you for help and said, hey, I'm really unsure about this design, do you have any suggestions? Or, do you have a minute to draw up a couple of things, a couple of alternatives? Then that's fine, because that's a solicited, redesign request.
Yeah.
But when you're taking something of someone's and going, no, that's wrong, this is right, then that's completely destroying a fan's rights, destroying their agency. Their artistic agency to, make a character that's dressed like this.
Yeah, and I mean, I know some people like redesigns, and they say, that's a good thing. Well, it's not a good thing if you don't get permission for it, and you're wording it in a way that's like, my design is better, because that's what it implies when you don't ask for that permission first, is my design is better, you're doing it wrong, I'm doing it right.
And that will reflect badly on you, because it just makes you look really arrogant.
It pisses everyone off.
Well, and it's the same thing too, like with canon. Like if you see something in canon and you don't like the way it's done, and you say, "Huh, I'm gonna use this exact thing with my thing, but I'm gonna do it better." It's like, wow, that's a good way to seem like a stuck-up jerk.
Yeah.
But I digress.
I guess another thing, going off the arrogancy bit, like, that suggests that you think that you know exactly what is happening with D.Gray-Man, which we have quite clearly shown kind of no one has a clear idea other than Hoshino herself.
Even then, though, does she even?
Sometimes not so sure. But,
Yeah.
like, there's just so much that plays into it. Even the fact that D.Gray-Man is drawing from different parts of the world, so, like, people are going to look at sexuality differently.
Definitely.
Like, you can't definitively say, because, like, I know that, especially in America, there's a lot of stigmatization, like, upon women that they need to dress conservatively, or else you do, for some reason, people think it's okay to make those kind of comments. Whereas, like, I don't think many of the fans in, like, Europe, at least from my experience, find much offense with certain uniforms.
Well, we're also talking about Americans who start freaking out when they see a naked statue, so...
Yeah.
Or a woman feeding her baby in public.
Yeah.
I think there's, you know, because I'm coming from a European perspective, there is a lot of American centricness, and what you have to remember is that you're not the only country in the world, and and you know, because I've traveled quite a bit personally, and yeah, I've been to lots of different countries, including other, you know, English-speaking countries, and they're all quite different, you know, and it's hard to kind of think about that experience when you haven't traveled, but I think what you've got to do is you've got to keep an open mind, and if someone presents you with something that's unfamiliar and perhaps maybe a little too suggestive for your taste, then kind of, you know, ask questions about it, you know, in a nice way, and, you know, see what you can learn about it, rather than just going in and going, that uniform is slutty, you know, your design is terrible, here's a brand new design that's way better.
I know everything and you know nothing.
The bullheadedness of our culture is something that pains me to no end.
Yes.
At least where I live, people are stubborn as frick, and it's painful.
Well, it's like on the cultural aspect too. You know, you go places like India, or you've got Africa. The style of clothing and what they show. You've got Anita in Mahoja, for instance. Mahoja's arms were bare the entire time, if I'm not mistaken, except for her initial introduction.
I think on the ship she had like sleeves that were detached, but Mahoja is like awesome. So
yeah. But definitely different cultures have different, you know, kind of viewpoints on kind of what skin can be shown, and different attitudes towards sexuality and stuff.
I think Tumblr drama is almost impossible to follow Koto. But yeah, so that's definitely the yeah, between that and I still find it kind of weird too that people get so uppity about clothing that's a little more revealing or a little more modern when there are so many examples that are revealing and modern in TV.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the Noah's outfits. I mean, it's the Noah family, but still.
Yeah, they're pretty strip-tastic. I mean, like, Rhodes, she's just got, like, 2 boob cup things that go down into the skirt, and the rest is on show, and, you know...
Rhodes wears a miniskirt in the beginning of the series, in public, and I don't care if she's a kid. They didn't have skirts that short back then. Do your research.
But nobody said anything is the thing, too.
Yeah.
But also, I think what happens when someone does slut-shame and does kind of do this behavior is they're contributing to the sexual double standard that, you know, still exists in our society today. And and you know, it's a really bad double standard, and it's the kind that does try to sexualize things like breastfeeding and kind of make that disgusting, despite the fact that that thing has been going on since, you know, the human race began.
And also, like, to explain briefly for those who don't know, the sexual double standard, to put it in perspective, is like how guys are encouraged to, you know, have sex all the time, while women are discouraged to. They're called sluts and mocked or just totally, you know, let down about it, and guys are put on a pedestal for it. That's kind of the double standard that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, and then to add yet another layer to it, if you declare that you don't want it at all, there's something clearly wrong with you. So it's like you can't ever do anything right when you're a woman. But you know, that's me getting a little bit sore about it.
Yeah.
Real quick, because Sissy left, she left a comment in our little private chat. She says,
I was trying to get to that.
The only thing I can think to have wanted mentioning is also the fact that Lena Lee is characterized as a bitch just because she's attractive. She isn't a slut, but slut-shaming and the like automatically makes people dismiss her because of this misogyny that leaks into everything. And that's true.
Definitely. And I think it's also because she's surrounded by so many men. And the fact that all these men, they like her. And
even though there's like a legit reason for it. She grew up with them.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, a nice person to them. And so why wouldn't they like her?
Yeah, and you know, she's... Okay, this is kind of a Mary Sue topic. But
go for it.
We've still got half an hour, so...
It's not like people don't get mad at her, you know?
Exactly.
Lavi freaking shouted at her. I mean, the others chastised him for it because she started crying, but that's because they care about her too, and she started crying. And even Lavi felt guilty for making her cry. But, like, Conda's chastised her before too, and it's not like she's got ultimate power over everyone.
Well, it's cool too because there's this if anyone's familiar with the drama CDs or like the special edition CDs, basically their CDs, there's 2 for Christmas, or 2 tracks for Christmas and 2 tracks for this thing where Kamui basically got the boys drunk and asked them what they thought of Lena Lee. But they brought up her flaws, but they still said that they liked her. So it's not like they don't see any flaws in her. They see where she has her weaknesses, and they still think she's a strong person, because, let's admit it, she is.
She is, yeah. And kind of like on a personal note, with the crying thing is, you know, there are some people that cry more than others. Like, I'm a crybaby. I cry very easily. So when I see a character like Lena Lee who cries a lot but still kicks ass, that's really encouraging.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like she had a mental breakdown when she was a child, and yet now here she is.
That's canon. She had a mental illness.
Yeah. So the fact that she's, you know, carrying on, and they really do face horrible things in their lives, and that she only cries because she can't help her friends. Like, are you gonna get mad at her for that? Like,
yeah, it's just a natural reaction, and you've got to remember, a lot of the time, especially in the arc, she was crying because she couldn't help that her friends were putting their lives on the line, and she could not do that too.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason she fights is to keep her world together.
Yeah.
So, but
and like, fair enough if you don't want to like a character, that's fine, but I think if you do kind of go just to call her a bitch and a slut and etc., for no other reason, then you are just contributing to this kind of sexual double standard
misogyny,
and the misogyny, and like the idea of women are always in competition. It's like even in like such small places as this, you need to start breaking down those horrible things and find a new and find a better viewpoint, because these negative ideologies, I guess, just they don't help anybody.
No, they don't, and it's just kind of ridiculous, honestly.
It is. Like, what was it the other day? I was watching Star Wars Rebels, and for anyone who hasn't seen it, the main character is really super interesting. Like, he's this teenage kid who it turns out he's a Jedi and everything. But when I was watching this episode the other day, all I could think was that if he was a female character, he would be getting so much hate because he'd be considered a Mary Sue. And like when I realized that, it about broke my heart because it is this culture of, oh, she's powerful, she's obviously a Sue, or, you know, she's emotional, she's clearly incompetent, that is really hurting even everyday women in society. And it's really hard to stop and think about that.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's kind of like a little bit, it's a little off topic, Mary Sue, but it's kind of on topic too, because the whole misogyny that we've seen. But,
Well, and slut shaming, like, is oftentimes part of a quote-unquote Mary Sue critique. So,
oh yeah.
So it totally ties in.
But my favorite one is, your character's Mary Sue because she's got big boobs. What's wrong with big boobs? Big boobs are fabulous.
They're horrible, but for a completely different reason.
Like, I don't know. I also kind of find that funny because that's not what a Mary Sue is. But that's for another video.
Yeah, when we have more time. Like a few years.
Yeah, no, I really don't understand that. Oh, your character's only got big boobs because you want big boobs, so, you know, she's a Mary Sue, and it's just like, and
well, for one, it's the easiest way to show that a character is female as opposed to male. So for some of us, big boobs are a necessity in drawings.
Oh my god. Okay.
Are you okay there, Chi?
No, it's one of the stupidest things I've heard still. The character reviewer and me laughing because I know how to actually character review. So.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean you know how to be?
I've seen that before, and it's just like, it's just boobs.
Yeah. My favorite review that I've read from a Mary Sue critic was basically that, oh my gosh, your character has such big boobs. She's such a Mary Sue. Oh my gosh, what a slut. And they said they were being a critic.
What? Okay, go drink your juice and go take a nap and then come back and join the third graders and maybe
No, sorry, Trash. They're not trying. That's just being offensive as hell.
Yeah.
There's no way you can justify that kind of behavior to someone else by insulting them so much and say you're trying to help, because insults are meant to hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah. An example
especially if it's unsolicited critique, you know.
Yeah, we discussed that in the intro then, too.
Yeah, like an example of trying to help someone in that situation is saying maybe like that feature would be distracting, and they are, or saying you know, maybe this part of the uniform is impractical or something, but something that is clearly done in the spirit of I want to see this become a good character, and not just writing it off as a loss and you ought to scrap it and just throw it in the trash where it belongs. Like that. Yeah. It's how you approach it that really defines whether it's a good critique or one that we're going to end up laughing at.
Yeah. Like I just did. I think another point too, like to bring Hoshino into this on the whole slut shaming thing. I've actually got her quote from
I love that quote.
The Cara Gray interview. The question is, Lena Lee's skirt has been getting shorter and shorter, hasn't it? We all know it's gotten shorter. Hoshino responds, that surprised me as well, and she laughs. I thought, I guess her skirt was longer at first. Her skirt gets shorter and shorter every time I draw her jumping up. I make excuses like, she's wearing shorts underneath anyway, and tend to shorten her skirt more and more. I guess I lost my restraint after the series moved to Jump Square. I started thinking, oh well, it's no big deal. Sometimes the current Lena Lee and her uniform are my favorite part of the series. Maybe the old man inside of me has awakened. So
I think that like is...
Yeah, she says, oh well, it's no big deal.
Yeah,
well, I think that whole that statement sums up a lot of D.Gray-Man in a few words. Like, oh, there's a vampire here. Oh, it's no big deal. This is a weird series anyways. Oh, where did his cloak from? Where did his cloak come from? There we go. It's no big deal. This is a weird series. Her skirt is getting shorter. I guess it is. Oh well, like
she's wearing shorts underneath anyway.
Yeah. And I think Hoshino is pretty much outright admitting there that the shorts excuse is not a great excuse. That's the thing. Like, your character doesn't have to wear shorts if you don't want them to. Like.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like, compared to some of the other animes, like, people call Lena Lee a fan service character. I'm just like, have you watched other shows?
Cough,
Yeah.
High School of the Dead, cough, cough.
Code Geass, cough, cough.
Who was it? Alyssa mentioned the thigh gap. Lena Lee has a thigh gap. Yeah, the men have thigh gaps too in D.Gray-Man.
Everybody's
They
got thigh
totally do. Well, too, and going back to the fan service thing, if Lena Lee was a fan service character, this is like my biggest argument against this. In the fight where she fought Eshi, and her clothes literally got burned off. Of all the times for her to actually prove herself as a fan service character, it would have been then, because hey, her clothes get burned off. She has clothes, but she still has her corset and her shorts. So therefore, I kind of find the whole fan service character argument severely flawed.
Well, not only that, but a fan service character, by definition, is a character that's only there to be looked at in a perverse manner. Like, Lena Lee has way too much character development to be a fan service character.
And there are barely any panty shots at all.
Yeah, I mean, what panty shots there are, I think there's only one legitimate panty shot, and that's in the front of Kara.
Semi.
Yeah, the rest is her shorts that look like panties, but...
Yeah, and even then, like, we don't even really see the shorts until I think it's chapter 205 when she's trying to find Alan. Like, 205 chapters before we get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys are getting their shirts blown off every other arc, so...
Cough,
cough, cough, Conda.
I mean, I swear he destroys his outfit, like, every mission. Not that I'm complaining, but, you know...
He costs the order more money than Alan does in uniforms.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Hoshino doesn't think it's a big deal, so you shouldn't either.
Yeah, and I think if you get approached with someone thinking it's a big deal...
That's when you start slapping with the D.Gray-Man book, right?
Yeah.
You know, with the cannon.
Just let them know it's not a big deal. To the point where the author has noted that it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and that's it too. Like, I think, like I mentioned earlier, that just kind of goes to show that D.Gray-Man isn't supposed to be taken all that seriously. Like, yes, it is a horror manga, and yes, there are definitely serious aspects to it.
Angst.
And angst.
The fact that pretty much everyone is an orphan.
True. But at the same time, there's so much, like, just lighthearted material behind it that if anyone comes at it, like, looking at it with such a strict and serious eye as they might for, say, Attack on Titan, then it just doesn't work for D.Gray-Man. There has to be that fun aspect, or it just gets too damn heavy.
I would like to show an example. Here's Lena Lee showing her shorts to everyone.
Yeah, I love that so much.
So, to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And then Alan's there like, please don't do that.
And he's really like trying to get her to push down her skirt. Lavi's in shock because he's like, hey, no panties, you know? And Conda's just Conda.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so like they were saying, you know, the uniforms should be practical. You know, they're fighting in them. But don't be afraid to have your own personal style, and don't... If someone attacks you over having short shorts or mini skirts by having short shorts under them or whichever, that's kind of ridiculous because it's in canon. So try not to take them too seriously or get too concerned about it.
I find the kind of best way to go about it is to be, you know, trolley and silly with them because I think they don't expect it. They want you to cry and get upset and and to rage because that's just fueling them. But if you say "lol, okay" to them, you know, I think it really kind of puts the argument in your favor and your power, because they can't really get a serious grip on you.
Well, and two, like, this is a thing I've been wanting to bring up ever since we knew that we'd be discussing this. When it comes to creating your own character, the only standards that you have to live up to are your own and canons. So if somebody comes up and is like legit attacking you because your character doesn't appear the way that they would prefer that it would, you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them a redesign. You don't owe them an explanation. Like, if you want to give one, then that's one thing, but all you have to do is, like, you know, stick with your interpretation of canon, which obviously there are things that you have to stick to, but if you want to have fun with it, have fun with it. You don't have to put up with somebody coming on to you and saying, I don't like that she has a skirt. You need to change it, because it's their job to tell you what to do.
I don't know. I mean, I personally just laugh at it because I find it really damn amusing, but
oh, I get fired up, but that's just because of the issues we've had in the past.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing to keep in mind too, you know, is you start attacking a character, don't be surprised if you get like 3 or 4 people on your ass over it. Everyone's tired of it, you know?
Yeah.
Where are the White Knights?
Yeah. I'd say take the White Knight title in your stride, because I think that just pisses them off. They're trying to use it against you, and words only have power if you give them that power. So if you remove the power from words like White Knight and slut and Mary Sue, then they in essence are just meaningless, and you can, you know, you won't get offended by them, and by that you can go against them and be like, lol, 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 yeah, I know she's a Mary Sue, yeah.
Oh, the day that I get called a White Knight, I'm just gonna die, since my name is Night Chick.
You're the whitest knight.
I am. Or
well, I mean, she's white, so.
Yeah.
I'm about as white as white can get, yeah.
No, we need someone who's like the most English person ever. With
well, you sound the most English at the
name.
moment.
Sorry. What?
You sound the most English at the moment.
But I don't look the most English.
Yes.
Trust me. Like, there are some.
Martha, why did you tell them that? We could have pretended you were English.
What does English look like on that note?
There's some English people, and they're just pale to the point where they might as well just use pure white foundation. They're that white. Then they need to get a username with the knight in it on DA or something, or Tumblr or whatever, and then they'll literally be the whitest knight.
Well, I turn to a lobster if I'm out in the sun for 5 minutes. Blue eyes, blonde hair, pure white skin. Do I count?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay, I'm the whitest knight of us all. I need to go troll lol.
You know, I'd also like to point out too, like, white knight. The actual definition of a white knight is someone that is defending someone else to kiss up to the person they're defending. And if you see your friend getting attacked and you step in and you're like, I think you're going overboard, you know, maybe you should move on, or just, you know, please stop attacking my friend, that's not white knighting. That's not how. That's not the definition of a white knight.
Yeah,
So
that's just the flawed opinion of what some people think it is.
yeah, and you know, they'll toss those terms because they know that the trigger effect is for people to get offended when they're called a white knight.
But you can just show up and be like, that word doesn't mean what you think it means.
You know?
Troll the trolls, I like it.
Something else to keep in mind too is when you're getting quote unquote critiqued by someone and they start throwing insults or they start calling you butthurt or a white knight despite you being completely passive and just responding to them normally, that's a really good sign that they're probably not the kind of person you want to listen to for your character.
Yeah.
I
You
wonder
probably
who's
don't
the
wanna
one
take-
getting butthurt here.
You probably don't want to take their opinion seriously if they can't back it up.
Especially if you're like giving them canon evidence and they're like, nope, 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 I'm not gonna listen to you. You're just being stupid. Like, okay, go on with that.
Yeah.
We'll just laugh.
Yeah. Hopefully we won't have as much slut shaming as we've had in the past.
Yeah.
It still kind of happens, so.
Yeah.
Sue them.
Wow.
We'll give
Well,
them
we do have Lawyer Chi, so.
Well.
I swear, if I ever get in trouble for like beating someone up or something, I'm going to Yuchi.
I'm sorry, I just find Mary Sue critiquers just hilarious.
I find them revolting, but yeah.
A lot of them.
I think one thing to keep in mind too is like Mary Sue critic recently has also become a generic term to mean anyone that's a complete asshole to other characters.
Yeah.
Which is more
one thing
accurate.
to keep in mind though too is like some reviewers. I call myself a character reviewer because of that stigma on the Mary Sue critic thing. Because when you say reviewer, it sounds a little more passive and not as, I'm going to rip you apart. But one thing to keep in mind is some critics aren't aware of that perceived difference between the two. So if you have someone that's legitimately trying to give you a critique and they're trying to be helpful and they call themselves a Mary Sue critic, you know, don't immediately attack them because they might actually be wanting to help.
But I think it's usually quite obvious what kind of critic they are when they speak to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, from that first comment, you can usually pretty much tell, like, whether they're coming at you with constructive, helpful intent, or the condescending, superior complex of, I know what I'm doing and you don't, so let me tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But then I find a lot of them haven't actually read D.Gray-Man, or at least know it to the point the fandom knows it, where the fandom, you know, reads it once a year from the start or whatever, and knows the trivia and has read the interviews and follows Toshino's Instagram and stuff like that.
I could head desk over every single time somebody who has not read D.Gray-Man tries to review a D.Gray-Man character. Like, dude, just no, please. There's so many things that you just can't even begin to think about unless you've actually read it.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing with D.Gray-Man too, is it's got a lot of hidden details, and it's got a lot of implications. And unfortunately, a lot of critics you'll probably run into are those who are applying general critiques to a universe. Like, let's say an Attack on Titan critic comes over, and they're like, oh, your character's hair color is not natural. They're a Mary Sue. That's where you just kind of laugh.
Yeah. Hysterically laugh.
You know, it's just, yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I think we went over both of our topics really well.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. So then I guess we can pose the question, like, is there anything that you guys want to see us tackle next time?
Or any questions pertaining to the topics today still.
Yeah, for sure. Blast it, what is that?
I think that's my headset. Oh no, it keeps like going.
Yeah, I hear it too.
It's I don't know. Like I kept pulling the cable because it's got this most annoying like little volume thing, and it just keeps getting caught and stuff. So I just yank the cord, which I probably shouldn't doing because this isn't even my headset. And so it's just pulled the cable out of. Or pulled some stuff looser in the actual head bit of the headset.
Don't break things on mic. You make things sound weird for the rest of us.
I'm sorry.
Well, we're not seeing any questions in the chat currently.
Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay is a D.Gray-Man character.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to see him as a scientist though, or like coming into Jerry's kitchen like, you effing idiot, all of this is wrong, what are you doing here? Canon and OC ships, yes.
We could probably do an entire thing on shipping, honestly.
I would love to do an entire thing on shipping, that would be fabulous.
Oh.
Yeah.
So much shipping salt.
Oh, but no, embrace the fluffy, good, pleasant side of shipping, Mojo.
Yeah.
Like
I like the angsty side because my ship is very angsty. So
Get enough angst.
No, I'm all about angst.
I like to come up with horrible headcanons and then make other people suffer with them.
Oh, trashed. That's really sweet.
Aww.
She says I could listen to you guys for 2 hours more.
I would love to be here for 2 more hours, but my sister's going to be here in like 10 minutes, and I really don't want to have her yelling at me for talking with you guys for too long.
Well, we're getting some suggestions for the next video, so that's cool. Oh, speaking of, we didn't do this in the beginning. We forgot the announcements things for some of the suggestions last time.
Yes, we completely spaced it.
Alyssa, you mentioned us making a group, and we've kind of decided not to do that because it would feel too professional, and we kind of want this to feel a little more laid back, kind of, to encourage people to communicate and join up, because if it's too official, that might scare people away.
Plus, I don't know about you guys, but I just don't have time for another group right now.
Yeah.
Between schoolwork and family stuff and this, yeah. And February, bloody February, and all the shipping stuff going on.
Looking at Valentine's.
The other topic was like how we're going to continue communicating with y'all as we discuss, and we've decided to keep the DeviantArt chat because that's the most effective in an active discussion with y'all.
Yeah.
Rather than having to check for comments every few minutes or whatever. So.
Yeah. Like, obviously we're open to suggestions. Like, if you guys think of something else that might work, then we'll definitely listen. We're not like, this is what we're sticking with. Because, somebody might be like, hey, here's this chat thing over here that works really well, and yada yada. But
And with the, the progression of the manga and the new anime, there might be a few topics that we can come back to because, new information is going to be revealed. There's the possibility of filler, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe Hoshino is having some input over the anime?
I believe so.
That's what, they've got a Twitter for the anime, at least the new anime.
Yeah.
And presumably, from what I've heard and read, Hoshino made a comment through that Twitter. Or there was some comment made that she's watching the project closely.
Yeah.
I don't have the link to that. I don't have the source for it at the moment, so take that with a grain of salt.
Which I'm still bouncing up and down at just the mention of the new anime, because yes!
Yeah.
So far we've got topics like Canon OC. We've already got Mary Sue, which we'll figure out when to do that, because that's going to be long as hell. Another one so far is like talking about innocences. So those are all very good suggestions.
Yeah.
So I think unless there are any other questions, we can probably close the talk for now.
Yeah.
And suggestions can be made through the chat. So.
Probably. And then, like, if you guys want to hit us up on our DeviantArts through, like, private notes or whatever, then I'm sure none of us would mind, because, yay, talking about D.Gray-Man, it's not like it's what we do 90% of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So, if everyone's set on questions, we can close this up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much again for coming to this and listening to us chatter about D.Gray-Man for a couple hours.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Thanks for coming again. Like, I didn't expect this many people to come again. That's cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Are we planning on doing this again next week? Like, does it sound like we'll be able to?
I need to check what I'm doing and note that I never know what I'm doing. But for now, it's a tentative yes.
Cool. All right.
We'll keep you all updated via status. Yeah. So as long as you watch one of us.
Yeah.
On DeviantArt,
yeah.
We'll have statuses that go up mentioning if anything gets in the way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we will see you guys next time then.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.